So I'm going to go ahead and start our webinar, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our update on the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program and student loan legal challenges. We can move to the next slide, please. So just before we get things going, I just want to go over some regular housekeeping. It seems like everyone is pretty familiar with the chat box. I see everyone's using it to say hello. We'll also be using the Q&A box, and this is the place where you can drop questions to be answered live during our session from Celina. Celina has also brought a colleague with her, Katie. Katie will be helping to answer the questions, as will I, during the program. We also have set aside some time at the end of the session for live question and answers. In the event that we're not able to answer all the questions in the Q&A, I'll put together a document that has those questions. We'll research the answers, and we'll include that document in the recording that we send out to all registrants following the presentation. Also, there's a closed caption button at the bottom of your Zoom platform. If you click that, you'll enable closed captioning and be able to follow along via text. Great. Excellent. So before we get started, I wanted to do just a quick membership plug for Cal Nonprofits. I know this is a free webinar today, so we're so happy to invite everyone from the community to join us for this important update around PSLF. But many of our webinars actually include a fee. So by joining Cal Nonprofits, you'll have access to all of those resources for free, in addition to many of the member services that we offer. And these include insurance, significant savings on a number of programs that would assist your nonprofit. And this is also a great way to stay connected to the nonprofit community, stay updated as to what's going on in the state, the issues that are affecting us, and how to get involved and advocate for change. So in that same vein, I wanted to do just a quick plug on who we are. Cal Nonprofits really focuses and acts as a chamber of commerce for the nonprofit community here in California. And we engage in policy and advocacy, educational and capacity building webinars like this one, as well as data and research. And that leads me to our next slide. For some time now, almost 10 years, Cal Nonprofit has been dedicated to undertaking the work of the student debt program. And this involves advocating for changes around student debt, researching the impact of student debt in the nonprofit sector. And we've just finished our 2024 nonprofit student debt survey. The results are in, and we're really looking forward to providing this comprehensive survey and report to our members in the community. So stay tuned for this report. We'll be releasing it shortly. And it really does have some impactful numbers and information around how student debt is impacting the nonprofit workforce, how employers can help their employees with student debt, and other issues around advocacy and support for those of us that are holding student debt. So now, I'm so pleased to bring on Celina Damian. Celina has been one of our really special trusted messengers, someone who has joined us for several programs before. Celina is the Student Loan Servicing Ombudsperson for the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. And she really has her finger on the nose of all the information that is coming out from Ed Financial and from studentgov.aid. So we're happy to have her join us today. And we're going to be discussing some of the changes, legal challenges, and some of the uncertainty that these have brought for PSLF. So for now, I'll turn it over to you, Celina.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to Cal Nonprofits for having me. Since I started this role over 2 years ago, Cal Nonprofits has been one of our partners, one of DFPI's strongest partners, and they've been instrumental in delivering this information to borrowers, especially those that could benefit from these programs, right? Those that work in the nonprofit sector, for employers. So I'm really glad to be here today. And then just given the current situation and the turbulence, I think this information will be crucial for everyone for borrowers. And then I hope that it provides you some clarity and helps you in making informed decisions. Next, please. Next. So just a little bit about DFPI. We are the California Consumer Protection Agency, and we regulate all companies of financial products to ensure that they are in compliance. And this includes student loan servicers. We accept and we evaluate consumer complaints, which are filed formally through our CSO division. And then as the ombudsperson, I actually monitor those responses. I monitor those complaints against student loan servicers, and then we take enforcement and legal action if these companies are not in compliance. So I think this is really important right now. We are the student loan servicing program. Regulating student loan servicers in the state is a new program. So these complaints for us are really important, and we want to hear from borrowers, right? We want borrowers to file these complaints when they're having issues with their student loan servicers, and I'll talk a little bit about that right now. I conduct education and outreach, and then with the goal of protecting and consumers from fraud and abuse in California. Next, please. So in California, we have approximately 4 million borrowers that owe $141 billion of student loan debt. A small portion of that is private loan debt. The average debt load of a California borrower is $37,000 with an average monthly payment of about $203. The majority of debt is held by borrowers between ages of 35 to 49 years old. And it's really interesting to note that borrowers in the next category, age population, are becoming one of the highest carrying debt holders, right? So that means that it doesn't mean that they're going to school. Older people are going to school at more rates or higher rates. It means that they've been having this debt for longer periods of time. So working with a lot of borrowers that have had debts for 20, 15, 20, 25 years and are not able to pay it off within that time frame. The default rate, although not the highest in California, is 7%. And we do know that borrowers who attend for-profit institution have higher debt amount and make less progress in paying the debt down. And we know the issues that for-profit institutions have been historically had. And so that's why we're hearing that has to do with the Borrower Defense Discharge Program. So in the United States, borrowers owe $1.78 trillion of student loan debt. It is the second highest consumer debt category behind mortgages. So it is a very large amount that's affecting a lot of Americans, student borrowers. Next, please. So in California, borrowers do have what's called as what's known as the California Student Borrower Bill of Rights. It's Assembly Bill 376. Again, these protections are crucial right now, and we are really looking for borrowers. We really want borrowers to understand that they have these rights, because we are seeing all of this going on right now, basically. What this bill does is it prohibits servicers from engaging in abusive, unfair, or deceptive practices, and it requires that the servicers work in the best financial interest of borrowers. It requires that they provide information for income-driven repayment plans, those are IDR plans, and any forms for federal benefits and protections. That's going to be your PSLF, your total permanent disability, your borrower defense discharge. It establishes special protections for military borrowers, those working in public service, older borrowers, and those with disabilities. Servicers are required to provide specialized training to their staff so that they will be able to help these borrowers when they're calling in and requesting information on these programs. It protects borrowers from any negative consequences stemming from a sale, assignment, system conversion, or payment made by the borrower. So this is extremely important right now because we've had service transfers, we've had platform transfers or upgrades, Mojila having a whole new upgrading to a whole new system. So this is where this comes into play. So if you log back on once all the transfers are complete, even once the transfer is complete with studentaid.gov and your PSLF, they need to be there can't be any errors. You can't incur any negative financial consequences. So this is really important for borrowers to keep an eye on their accounts to make sure that things are transferring correctly. Really important in this bill, a borrower has a right to take legal action against their servicer if they fail to comply with these laws. And a borrower has what's called a private right of action, which means that a borrower can take legal action against their student loan servicer if they've incurred any harm because of this. So really important, and we're really looking again for borrowers to know and understand these rights. A borrower can file a complaint, so go ahead and file those complaints with us. We really need to know what is going on and how borrowers are being harmed, especially with all the changes going on. So said we're on those complaints. I monitor those and work closely with our DFPI teams to see what we can do on the state level. Next, please. The student borrower bill of rights, I mentioned servicer, just a quick reminder what the difference between your lender and your servicer. For federal student loans, we're talking about the lender is Department of Education. So they're the ones lending you the money, and the student loan servicer is your main point of contact. So that's going to be your AidVantage, Mohila, Nelnet, and Aid Financial. That's where you're making your payments or sending your bills. They collect and process the loan payments, process changes and repayment plans. You may have several servicers, and you may be transferred, as many of you probably have. You just get transferred automatically. One thing that they do not do, and it's important to note, is that they don't give the final okay for any type of forgiveness. All that is coming from the Department of Education. So for many of you that may be interested in finding out, when the forgiveness is going to happen or what the date is, they're just really tracking that data. They're not actually doing the processing of the final forgiveness or refunds. Next, please. So I'm going to go over, for those that are new, and I'm just going to briefly go over PSLF and some of the requirements. Nothing too much has changed there, but I just want to cover that. Public Service Loan Forgiveness, it's a program that was created in 2007 for borrowers in public service. Student loan forgiveness is granted after satisfying certain criteria for 120 months or 10 years. As of May of this year, 942,000 borrowers have received $68 billion in forgiveness through this program. And in California, we have about 75,000 borrowers that have received over $5 billion in PSLF. Prior to the PSLF waiver and to all the PSLF initiatives and updates that the Biden administration did, the denial rate was about 98, 97, 98%. So these numbers are great to see. One thing very important to note, PSLF remains active, but there are some major updates which are affecting the program. Next, please. The requirements are that you must have the right type of loan, the right type of employment, and you must be making eligible payments at the same time. So all these have to happen at the same time. You can't be, if you were in prior as nonprofit work or public employment, but at that time you didn't have student loans, that time won't count. These have to happen simultaneously. Next, please. So for the federal loans that are eligible for this program, we are looking at any direct loans. So direct, unsubsidized, subsidized, that the unsubsidized, subsidized, really the difference is the way that interest is accrued, but it is still a direct loan. Any direct plus loan or direct consolidation loan after July 1st is a direct loan, but those are the ones that are eligible. A direct grad loan, a direct parent plus loan can become eligible if they are consolidated into a direct consolidation loan, and that's in order for them to have access to the income-driven repayment plans. The FFEL loans, any pre-2010 loans, a borrower may have FFEL loans. It's very important. We just had an IDR adjustment. So we have a current IDR adjustment review going on. That's a different program. So there was a huge push for FFEL borrowers to consolidate their loans into direct consolidation loans in order for them to qualify for PSLF and then to qualify for better repayment plans. If they consolidated before June 30th, they basically kept all their credit. Right now, I would hold off on any consolidation for any failed borrowers, only because we don't know how they're going to be calculating weighted average, and we don't know, and consolidation applications are on hold. So also, private loans do not qualify, so there's no way of reverting your private loan back into a federal loan to get access to PSLF. So just be really careful if you have a federal loan and you're thinking about refinancing, you're thinking, oh, right now it's a mess and I'm really not sure and it's throwing me off my PSLF track, and then you have a private lender offer you a great interest rate. Just be really careful, read the terms, and know that you will be losing all eligibility and you won't be able to get that back. Next, please. And then eligible employment, you have to be employed for either a government agency, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, or serving full-time in the military, Peace Corps, or AmeriCorps. Certain non-501c3 organizations may qualify if their primary focus is to provide specified public services. So that's going to be medical, education. The list is pretty extensive, and you can find that on the PSLF website. But any 501c3 employee automatically qualifies. And then contractors of government employers do not qualify unless you are in a state where they prohibit certain occupations from hiring directly. So that's going to be like medical professionals in California or Texas. Next, please. For the employment, you have to be employed at least 30 hours a week. It has to be paid employment. Internships do not count. Sick leave, FMLA does count as long as it counts towards the 30 hours. You can be working part-time for multiple employers and to equal the 30 hours a week. Parent plus loan eligibility, I get this a lot. So it's based on the parent borrower's employment. So if you are a parent borrower and you are employed in public service, the loan is under your name, you can qualify for PSLF, but not if the student or the child for whom you took out the loan for is employed. So it's based on your eligibility, and it doesn't matter what position you are in. It matters who your employer is. So you could be in legal, research, maintenance, any position, as long as they are your employer. And then you must still be working at the time that you apply for forgiveness. So that's a little bit different. That requirement was waived during the PSLF waiver period, but now they've reinstated it. So at the time that you reach the 120, you must be employed still for the employer. Next, please. And then eligible repayment plan. So this is where we have a little hiccup right now, right? You can be enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan. That's going to be your IBR, your ICR, your pay, and your save. So ICR is the only plan. It's still an income-driven repayment plan, but it's the only plan that is available for parent plus borrowers once they consolidate over. The save plan, it took over the repay plan, and so a lot of those borrowers were automatically switched over to the save plan or enrolled during the launch of the program, which they were encouraging a lot of borrowers to enroll into the program because it is one of the more affordable programs. It protects more of a borrower's income, and it also has an eligibility forgiveness component to it after 10 years, similar to the PSLF. However, it does not require a public service loan forgiveness. So one thing you have to remember is there's different paths to forgiveness, whether it's from a long-standing forgiveness plan like PSLF, and then the SAVE plan, which was just created this year. And then you have your 10-year standard repayment plan. So that plan may qualify you. However, under that plan, you are scheduled to pay off your loan within 10 years. So it wouldn't leave you any balance at the end of the 10-year period, right? So that plan puts you at a payment that pays off the balance. So if you're looking for forgiveness, then that plan would not be the most suitable for you, and probably would have higher payments as well. You can use the loan simulator on the federalstudentaid.gov page to make an estimate of your payment. So it's not 100% accurate, but it'll give you an idea what you would be paying under one of these plans. Next, please. So these payments must be made after October 1st, 2007. They don't have to be consecutive. They must be made within 15 days of the due date, and some periods of forbearance and deferment will count. For example, the CARES Act. So you're getting about 3.5 years of PSLF payments without, or PSLF credit, as long as you were working. So those are all counting towards PSLF. So essentially for those borrowers that are almost at the 10-year mark, you're getting 3.5 years without payments. So really the program is about 6.5 years for some people. So really great that they're giving borrowers credit, and then payments made while the loan was in default are not eligible, but then they can become eligible through the Fresh Start program. Next, please. So one major change that happened to PSLF, as many of you probably noticed, you used to be able to you had Mohila as your servicer processing your payments, and anytime a borrower applied for PSLF, they were automatically transferred to Mohila. So they were handling your payments, they were handling all your PSLF processing, they were tracking your payments. So effective July 1st, now the PSLF processing has transitioned to Department of Education directly. So now they are handling everything PSLF, your Mohila, your payments. Mohila would still be working with you and processing your payments and doing the billing, but now Department of Education or on studentaid.gov will be doing the form processing, the payment count updates, and the forgiveness of loans. So the goal of the transfer is for borrowers to have a centralized location for everything. And once it's up and running and everything's transferred, is for faster processing. Effective July 1st, you'll be able to manage your accounts. You'll be able to confirm PSLF form signatures, track history, track form status, view eligible and qualified payments. One thing that is different is before on Mohila, you would reach the 120 and they would automatically notify Department of Education. Now, once you reach the 120 qualifying payments, you have to request the forgiveness on the remaining balance. So if you remember those forms, there was a third box that says, I think I've reached forgiveness, or if you use the help tool. So now at the 120, you will have to request it now through studentaid.gov. So that is a new process. Right now, we don't have everything transferred over. So that's really important to know. Next slide, please. Getting started, you're still going to use the PSLF employer eligibility search tool. You'll look up your employer's federal employee ID number, and then you will see if they're eligible, if they are ineligible, or they might not be they might not have been reviewed yet. So you can go ahead and search there. If you see them on there as eligible, it means someone from that agency has already applied for PSLF. So in order to get started, just check your employer's eligibility and then find out what loans you have. Again, this is going to be on studentaid.gov. Next, please. And if you are on PSLF, you probably most likely already know what kind of loan you have, and you are all on track and have direct loans. So we're doing the electronic signatures. Many of you may have already used this. So instead of scanning the form like we used to before, now you will be just sending automatic request to the employer. So you're going to need the correct email address for your authorized official. So this is going to be anyone in personnel, HR, just someone that can verify the information on your records and that you were employed there. They're confirming that the information is correct and it's accurate, and then they can make corrections on the form or reject the form, and you'll be informed of any changes. And this is what that email is going to look like coming from Federal Student Aid. So for employers that are out there, it's really important to have many state agencies have created just an email for any PSLF related forms. That way a borrower can just submit that email, and there's one person that processes all the forms. So check spam, things like that, because this has been probably for about 8 months going on, and we don't want any employers to miss the certification. So this is what it's going to look like. Next, please. So now on studentaid.gov, you're going to be able to track the forms. You're going to be able to confirm the signatures and track the forms. This is what it's going to look like. So you're going to be able to see for each employer, as you can see here, the email, the signature. You can find this under My Activity in the drop-down menu under the name, and then you can select the form. You can also choose to manually upload the PDF here, but this is what it's going to look like. It's going to show you at every step of the process. And then as you can see on here, it'll show completed. Next, please. You will also, so this is the page where you'll be able to see all the forms. You'll be able to see the date your PSLF form was submitted, the status and date of your employer's eligibility status. Under action, right there where it says required, you may see in review, canceled, closed, or completed. So at this point, many of you may not see that. So if it's action required, basically you need to follow up on something and review, it's being reviewed. Canceled, that means the borrower closed it or canceled the application, and then closed, it means that it was closed for either a signature or there was a delay. But you'll get more familiar with these once you're on studentaid.gov and you start submitting the forms and then working through the PSLF process. Next, please. And I'm only showing you a few screens. This is not everything. You're going to be able to expand these links to click on more and get more reviewed information. But next, please. It's fine. So as you can see, this is what eventually once all the information is transferred, what it's going to look like. You're going to be able to see your qualifying payments. You're going to be able, it says right there, show payment summary. You'll be able to look at every month and look at whether it was eligible, whether it was a PSLF eligible month, whether certification is needed. So they really are trying to get this more detailed information to borrowers. But as you can see, this is what it's going to look like. You'll be able to see your qualifying payment history. You'll be able to see the expected forgiveness date and all these additional details. Next, please. So one thing, by fall of 2024, you will see updated PSLF credit for months of eligible deferment or forbearance. We do encourage you to wait until everything gets reviewed, and then again, ensure that everything is accurate. So what is going on with SAVE? So how is it affecting PSLF? Well, SAVE is one of the PSLF qualifying repayment plans, right? And many of you were either transferred over or applied because it's one of the best plans, more affordable payments, and you were on track with that. Well, this was announced August 2023. By May of 2024, we had about 7.5 million borrowers enrolled, and then also about 55,000 borrowers that received forgiveness under that 10-year, under $12,000 forgiveness component. So it was moving along, right, until spring of 2024, when two Republican-led states, Kansas and Missouri, they filed lawsuits to block certain portions of the SAVE plan. So the Missouri states, the 8th Circuit and Missouri judge blocked the accelerated SAVE forgiveness component part of it. So they blocked the forgiveness part of it. And the 10th Circuit Kansas judge blocked the lower payment, the 5% discretionary income. So they each blocked a portion of it. And then we were able to get SAVE clear for a few weeks. And then another judge in Missouri blocked the entire SAVE plan. So as a result of that, borrowers enrolled in the SAVE plan were placed on an interest-free forbearance until further notice. So this is nothing, there's nothing that a borrower can do to get that forgiveness removed. This is something, it's something that was blocked by the appellate court. So Department of Education immediately told servicers, we have to place all borrowers on SAVE on a pause, basically. So it has appealed to the Supreme Court to reinstate the SAVE plan, but we are still waiting on that. So what does that mean? Again, next slide, please. Robert, do you have a question? Yes.
I just wanted to clarify and ask a question there. During this period of administrative forbearance, are those save loans still accruing interest?
No.
Okay.
So it's an interest-free forbearance. So 0% interest like the repayment, like during the COVID pause. However, the difference is that they're not getting credit towards PSLF. So if you're enrolled in SAVE and then we're placed on this forbearance, you are not receiving qualifying credit. So you are not accruing interest and you aren't, but you are not receiving credit. So because the guidance was overnight, again, from one day to another, Department of Education told servicers pause these loans and gave them this direction. Some borrowers may see some interest for August and they may have received a bill, but for August, a borrower should not have a bill. It was just so quick that servicers could not process all these changes immediately for all these borrowers. So interest had possibly already accrued or bills had already gone out, notices had already gone out. So it's really important. So no bills due for August, no interest should be accruing, which is, again, it's really important why borrowers should be looking at their accounts. What happened during the payment pause, excuse me, was that it accrued some interest and then servicers went back and removed that interest because it also happened so quick. So keeping an eye on those accounts is going to be essential. We want to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to
That
do.
makes a lot of sense and is super helpful. I actually had that exact scenario occur to me where interest did accrue,
Mhm.
and I'm waiting right now for that interest to be deducted.
Yeah. So, again, keep an eye out on those. How can a borrower receive credit? A borrower can enroll in a different IDR plan, so the PAY, the ICR, or the IBR plan. However, it's really important to note that, first of all, if you change to a different plan, your payment may be higher. You may face interest capitalization when switching back. And servicers have paused the processing of applications to enroll. So you're going to have a delay whether you try to move. If you try to move, you're going to have a delay. You're going to be placed on a processing forbearance. And we don't know if this will count towards PSLF. So either you stay on the save plan and you wait it out, you save that money for your, for future payments. Any payments made during forbearance will be applied to future bills due after this forbearance ends. But again, we don't know when. So that's going to be up to the borrower, what they want to do. The IDR applications online are not currently up, as are the consolidation applications. So the only way right now for a borrower to switch repayment plan is with a paper application. And I've included the link at the end of the webinar for borrowers that want to do it that way. But again, there's going to be a delay in those application and the processing. So you'll have to you really have to determine, do I wait it out or do I move, make more changes, possibly accruing more interest? It is completely unfair. I understand it's super frustrating to not have answers, to not know how long you're going to be on this forbearance, especially if you've been on track, if your payments have been good, if you've been managing your accounts. I completely understand. We have staff here in our office that are going through the same thing, but unfortunately this is out of our control and out of the control of Department of Education. So they're doing the best they can for borrowers to incur the less harm.
That
Right.
makes sense, Selena. And
Yeah.
just to follow up on one more question in the chat, should folks be making payments during this forbearance period in order to hopefully receive credit, or is it best to just not make those payments?
Someone asked me that question yesterday, and it's going to be up to the borrower. I honestly would not. I personally would not. I would hold off just because I don't want to. There's no guarantee that they're going to go back, and there's no guarantees of anything. So if I make a payment, it's going to be to try to pay down my principal. It's not going to be for any future forgiveness it would be to possibly for the principal, right? For the balance. So during the buyback, I'll talk about buyback right now. And at that point, you can make those payments. So there's no need for borrowers to make payments now for buyback purposes. So Just, I would make sure that the interest is not accruing, and you don't want to, I've seen borrowers trying to make additional payments and they've had issues where it's not being allocated correctly, where it's just, they're having more issues. So if I would hold off. I would hold off honestly, but if a borrower wants to pay down the principal balance, they can go ahead and do it. And I know that you're able to on the servicer website. Next, please. So here's a PSLF buyback. So this is a program that was announced last year. So this is not a new program. This wasn't a program that was created because of this litigation or because of SAVE. This was something that was announced last year. So it's a program where a borrower can buy back credits. So as you can see in this, or buyback qualifying months. So to utilize the buyback, you must still have an outstanding balance on the loans, have 120 months showing as qualifying due to eligible employment, and buying back these months will complete their total 120 qualifying payments. So this is a program that the department has said you would be able to use for these months. So this is where I'm saying you can hold off on making those payments. And if you're able to use the buyback months to complete your 120, then make those payments then. Because what they're going to do is, as you can see in this chart right here, and it's, you know, it helps a lot, super helpful. But if you have some months of forbearance, you're already at the, you know that you're at the 120 qualifying employment and you just have those months. What they're going to do is they're going to go back and they're going to basically say, okay, on this month where you were on forbearance or deferment, this is what your payment should have been. So they're going to base it on the IDR payment. If you were enrolled in an IDR plan at that time, that's going to be your payment. If you weren't on an IDR plan, you will have to submit information so they can determine your payment. So most of the borrowers, if they were on PSLF track, then you have to be enrolled in an IDR plan. So it should be fairly simple, right? But at this point, I don't know of any borrowers that have used it, that have utilized it, because we are still waiting on the income-driven repayment adjustment review, which was going to add additional months and give borrowers credit. So some of you may have already seen that your qualifying PSLF count went up. And so you may be thinking, well, why did it go up? It was probably because of the review, because they went back and gave you credit for forbearance and deferment months. And so it's going to be the same with this. Once this forbearance is over, then you'll be able to go back and see, okay, these months are going to be ones that I'll be able to buy back, and they're going to be basing those payments on the IDR plan that you would have been on at the time, or the IDR payment. But again, I don't know any borrowers that have utilized it yet because it's too early and they haven't completed the IDR adjustment review. But this is one of the programs that Department of Education has said borrowers will be able to use. So yeah, that's why I'm saying just save that money. You don't want to, I don't want to tell borrowers make a payment and then they're hoping that it'll give them PSLF credit, because it's not going to. And let's just save it for the buyback. Just, there's so much confusion that I don't want. It's better to just hold off on that. And next, please. So some key takeaways with the SAVE litigation: the PSLF program itself is not in any danger. So PSLF is not going away. That program it's in the law, right? That what is being affected is the SAVE program. So it's being indirectly affected, but the program itself is not in any danger. The IDR one-time adjustment is also unaffected. They're still going to be conducting the review, but it may be delayed. So again, if your borrower's account has not been reviewed, they may receive additional PSLF credit once the review is complete. Before making any changes, whether it's to, if you want to switch to another IDR plan, just know that there will be delays. And then continue monitoring your online portals to ensure that no interest is accruing and that no payments are due. If you've reached the 120 payments before the end of 2024, know that it is going to take some time for them to process the forgiveness because of the transfer of the PSLF servicing. So that was happening before the SAVE litigation. So they were in the middle of transferring all this PSLF information, and now borrowers are hit with this forbearance. So if you hit the 120, then I would just say, just keep your records. And then once everything gets up and running, since Department of Education is going to already have those records in-house, hopefully they'll be able to just go ahead and start clearing the ones that have already reached the 120. Because that's what it seems like they've been doing with other programs. They try to get the ones that have already met the requirements first, and then they clear those accounts out first. It's going to be a lot of waiting. Good for anyone, right? If you're counting on this forgiveness, if you were on a good payment plan and finally got yourself, to a manageable plan, states can do. There's nothing that a borrower can do as far as trying to remove that forbearance. And the Biden administration is continuing to aggressively defend the SAVE plan. So they really are trying to get borrowers back on SAVE and out of the forbearance, because we just got out of the COVID repayment pause. And then not only that, we have the on-ramp period, which was a year after the repayment pause, so October 1st through September 30th. So October 1st of 2024, delinquency, default, all the reportings related to default are back on. So we want to make sure, you want to make sure that even if you're on forbearance, that nothing is being reported inaccurately. You don't want October 1st to come and there be some issues with payments, or that servicers are not reporting accurately. You really want to be on top of those things. And so, Robert, is there anything before I just jump onto the other plan do you have any questions? I want to just, since we're on PSLF right now, that anything that you see, I see a lot of questions in the chat, but I haven't really been able to look at them.
Yeah, the questions in the chat really revolve around the uncertainty that we're all dealing with. And that's, I think, the crux of our conversation today, is that we are still in a period of uncertainty. And so folks that are in forbearance, like myself on PSLF, I think people are trying to understand, when that forbearance might end. And like I said, should they be making payments? So I think we've addressed those questions. And I think maybe the underlying sort of answer is, right now we are still in a period of uncertainty, and Celina's advice is the best option to take right now as we navigate through this period of transition.
Yeah, and I know there was when a SAVE was first announced and borrowers switched over, so there was a processing forbearance, and then they were placed on forbearance when they switched to possibly there was another switch, right? When they possibly,
or when they applied to PSLF.
Right, and then when they applied, so there's been like forbearances on forbearances, and so it's hard to tell which one does qualify, right? When are these months going to qualify? Right now, it's really hard to say, because it's going to be on Department of Education. They're going to go back, and they're the ones that are going to be giving credit. And we meet with Department of Education, and we also get we don't know answers, right? So for me, I know I would want to tell borrowers super clear that which ones will count and they will not. We know this one will not count, this administrative forbearance for the SAVE. Any process, even in the rules, it says processing forbearance may count towards forgiveness programs, right? Even there, it's not very clear. So just the borrower has to keep track of what was going on. Like I said, I'm working with borrowers. They ready to make payments, and it's been paused, and another forbearance and another forbearance. So it's really frustrating when you're not able to get a clear count and to know what's going to count or not. I completely understand, because we're working with those borrowers. And right now, even if you call Mohila about past months, they're going to tell you, we don't have your account anymore. It's on studentaid.gov.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah, folks who are still seemingly using Mohila as their servicer and have not yet been transferred over to the Department of Education, should they be making payments towards Mohila, or just holding tight?
So if they're with Mohila, and I mean, of course, anyone that's on a save plan is gonna not have a payment. But if you're, so Mohila would still be handling the billing, that part of it. So they still have all the accounting. What it has transferred over is the PSLF processing. So the only records that studentaid.gov has currently, and if you were to log on, is anything July 1st forward. So if
Yeah.
you maybe recertified just recently, they still don't have all the records from Mohila prior. So you may not be able to access everything, and that information that you're looking at, I'm getting a lot of like emails from borrowers saying it's not showing right now, it's showing I'm ineligible, eligible. Right now, I wouldn't trust that information. I wouldn't, like, that's not 100% information, because not everything has been transferred over. So
So,
if you're,
yeah.
yeah,
What I'm
yes.
hearing you saying is that unfortunately, it's going to be on the borrowers to really keep track of where we stand and the payments that we've made up until this point, so that we can make sure that those transitions and those transfers to student aid or to the Department of Education line up with the previous payments that we've made to Mohila in the past.
Right, and so far, what I've seen is the information that's there has been accurate, it's just not complete. So
Yeah.
you'll see some parts of the PSLF information of your counts, but you're not gonna be able to look at the detailed history month by month. That's what's still transferring over. So you may already have a little dashboard with the qualifying payments and some of your employers, but again, so that's expected by the fall, so not too far, a few months, right? But again, with this current litigation, now priorities have focus. Now they have Department of Education on this. So it's, yeah, it, hopefully by next year, right, once everything is transferred, then everyone should see updated full information on there. And that's what we want to make sure, that everything gets transferred over.
And we also, just to underscore one more time, we don't have a timeline on when this forbearance will end.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. Thank you for, yeah, chiming in. Next, please. Okay, real quick, just to add another layer of confusion to everyone, some of you may have received an email about student loan forgiveness. So I said at the beginning of the program of the webinar that there are different paths to forgiveness. This forgiveness has to do with the new rulemaking. So if you remember back in 2022, 23, 22, Biden announced the blanket forgiveness. The Biden administration announced the blanket forgiveness, which was subsequently blocked by the Supreme Court. So what they did is they started the rulemaking process for another forgiveness program. So in preparation for that, and to inform borrowers of this potential debt relief, they sent out an email for this forgiveness for all borrowers that qualified. And so borrowers had the option to opt out of this forgiveness program until August 30th to opt out. So really at this point, this is the opting out was for borrowers in states where it could qualify as income, or where it would affect like their benefits, maybe public benefits. But really for this one, borrowers don't have to do anything. The rules are not final, and the email does not guarantee eligibility. And then there's 4 buckets of this forgiveness. It's borrowers who owe more now than they did at the start of repayment, borrowers who have been in repayment for decades, 20, 25 years. This is in line with the IDR adjustment. And then borrowers who are otherwise eligible for loan forgiveness but have not yet applied, maybe borrowers that should have been on an IDR plan, and then borrowers who enrolled in low financial value programs. And there's more information on that, but this is again just like in preparation for that, and borrowers don't have to take any action. And this is again separate from PSLF. There are some requirements in the first bucket, but for most of them, most of it would be automatic. Next, please. And as with anything, I always have to warn folks, and just with the confusion and uncertainty going on, the scammers are taking advantage of it. So really important, know your servicer, verify if you get a call from anyone, verify the information and research the company. Don't give out your login information or passwords. I get borrowers call me and they say, I just got off the phone with somebody and I gave them my PIN. What do I do? Try to change that PIN. What they're doing is basically they're offering you, they're saying you qualify for forgiveness, you should qualify, this is urgent, and then they get your PIN, they get your studentaid.gov information, they'll pull out all your information, retrieve all your information, and then they're gonna apply for you. So that's basically what they're doing. So do not subscribe to any monthly service or sign a contract, because many times you may not even need to consolidate. Maybe you don't, right now, nothing pretty much, as I said, not too much can be done. So if someone's saying, oh, I can help you with forgiveness, no, they can't, because I can't even help you with forgiveness. So don't fall for that. Just remember, there's nothing a company can do that you can't do for free. Servicers and the government are not calling, as you saw with the debt relief email. They're going to send you an email with information, and then it's going to be informational. They're not going to request anything from you. Special access or any sense of urgency for anything, whether it's student loans, home, any type of credit, anything that urgent, miss out, know that it may be a scam. Next, please. So in California, borrowers are very lucky, not just to have a DFPI that created a student loan program, the state that have passed protection laws, but now we have a student loan empowerment network. It was a program that was created by DFPI through legislative funds. And so now borrowers can receive one-on-one help, not just contacting me. I love to work with borrowers, but there's only one of me. But now we have 14 agencies that are working with borrowers directly in person. They're answering immediately. You fill out an intake form, and this is for federal and for private loans. This is for payment options. Some of these agencies already work in like their financial literacy coaching. They're already in that space, so they can help you not just with the programs, PSLF, borrower defense discharge. They can help you understand your options. They may be able to help you with other aspects of your finances. So this is really great. This just launched in June, I believe. And so we are just, we're super excited because borrowers have this help in California, and no other states have anything similar to this. So this is a 2-year program, and it couldn't come at a better time. Please feel free to reach out to them. They will get back to you. I work with them directly as well, meet with them once a week to hear what's going on, and there's availability right now. So we really want borrowers to, even if they just have questions, just call them, and you can get someone to work with you and maybe help you with some other things, because typically when you need help with one thing, it ends up being something else. It's never very straightforward with student loans. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I want to underscore that this is a great resource for folks to take advantage of. Newly rolled out by Celina and her team. I'll include this web address in our recording or in our follow-up email as well. But this is going to be a great place for folks to ask personal questions that might be a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, we have there's attorneys, there are legal aids. And so borrowers that may be facing garnishment, once we get off but once the on-ramp ends October 1st, and you're seeing that, I can't manage these payments and I don't know what's going on, you can reach out to them and they're there for you. So we're really excited to have this, and it's a great resource. So next, please. I think that is the last one. So these are some of the links. Again, how to manage your loans, how to manage the new portal. And then there's a link for the court actions that are going on, which they update regularly, but right now there are no updates. So just again, we have our DFPI channel and then my email. And again, please file those complaints. As I said, it's really important, because in order for the states or California to really help borrowers, we need to know what's going on, right? We need to hear from you. And although a lot of these things that are happening are beyond the servicers, like they can't, some of the things they can help with, right? They should still be able to give you the right information. They still be able to, should still be able to help you with some aspects of your loan. So please make sure you just know what's available and know what resources, and that we are working for you as much as like Department of Education is. But so that is the webinar today. I believe that's the last one. Yeah, Robert. We have time for a few questions, or let me see, what does it look like?
Yeah, we've got just a couple of minutes, and maybe I'll highlight a couple of notes that I see here in the Q&A. And there's one here I think that might be on people's minds is that could another administration attempt to get rid of PSLF? Is that something that we should be thinking about or worrying about as the election draws closer in November?
We've had many since PSLF since 2007, and that's never been an issue. So
Great.
regardless which way we go, as far as that program, we don't see it there being any threat to the actual program.
Excellent. Well, Celina, thank you so much. I'll ask Vanessa to bring up the slides, please. So I want to give a thank you to Celina. I know that this is a lot of information, and it really does underscore a lot of the uncertainty that we're all experiencing right now. So Celina, it's been great to have you on. Continue to
Thank
be
you
a
for having
trusted
me.
messenger for our community. We'll continue to have updates like this, as well as putting out resources for employers and employees to access PSLF as the situation continues and we get some clarity around the legal challenges that are occurring. I also want to give a thank you to Katie, who's been answering questions in the chat, really useful for us to see those and have access to you both.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you, everyone. Just be patient and just know that as soon as anything happens, Robert and I are in constant contact because he has student loans as well. So he's on it. So believe me, he
That's
will
right.
not let it, he will not let anything go. He'll get clarification immediately, and then we will let everyone know. So thank you so much. And then have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.
Great. I'll take it over to the next slide, please. So before we end up today, I just wanted to give a quick plug on some of our upcoming events. For those of you that are members of Cal Nonprofits, next Thursday we have our annual members meeting. This is going to be a great place to get updates about our new website, some of the new member benefits that we offer. Following that, we have a purchasing point webinar that will help you make use of some of your member benefits, namely purchasing point. And then we have 3 upcoming educational webinars on September 5th, navigating legal issues for volunteers, interns, and contractors. On the 19th, understanding the California budget. And on the 25th of September, we have Tell Your Story, tips to reach donors with your candid profile. So I wanted to just let people know that these are webinars that are upcoming. We'll also keep these folks and everyone who attended today, you'll be added to a list that I'm keeping track of people that are interested in receiving PSLF updates. So when we do learn more, and it may be at any moment, and it may be weeks from now, you will be hearing from us, and we'll keep you informed and updated as soon as we learn anything. I'll take it to the next slide, please. So thanks everyone for joining us. I just wanted to underscore that everyone will receive a copy of today's recording, as well as the PowerPoint slides. I'll also go through the questions and see if there are some that we didn't get to answer. It looks like there were about 10 that we didn't get to answer. So Celina and I will go through and craft some answers to those questions and include them in a Word document in addition to the recording and the PowerPoint slides. It is now 11:59, so we've reached the end of our webinar, but I want to thank you for joining us. Wish you the best of luck in navigating these challenging times during PSLF. We're going to get through this. We're going to be here as a resource for you, and we're going to work together to make sure that everyone understands the nuances of the program and how best to navigate them. Thanks so much, and have a great afternoon. Take care.